Hi, this is Glenn Gabe from G Squared Interactive, and this is episode 21 of SEO from the Front Lines. Today I'm going to be covering the December 2024 spam update. There was a ton of volatility during that update. Usually spam updates don't have broad impact, but this one did, like some in the past have had, like the December 2022 link spam update, which also had a lot of impact, but that was a link spam update, different than just a spam update. So what I'm going to do today is cover my blog post, which I published yesterday. It includes a lot of information about the spam update, but specifically it has 5 blinded case studies. So it gives you some view of what I'm seeing across those different sites of why they might be hit. So I'm going to cover that in a second. But before I get started, definitely subscribe to my channel so you can know when I post new videos. I cover a lot about algorithm updates, about new search features, different things going on like AI in search, so on and so forth. So definitely subscribe and you'll be notified when I post new videos. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is just cover quickly that if you were impacted by the December 2024 spam update, a great place to start, as I point out here, is reviewing Google spam policies. So if you're impacted by a spam update, chances are you're violating one of those policies. You should be, unless there's collateral damage. So I would definitely go through that. I saw a lot of scaled content abuse, doorway pages, AI-generated content, etc. So I'll be covering more about that in the cases. But definitely go through the spam policies and see where you might run afoul of their web spam policies. And note that link spam updates are usually named link spam updates, so they're announced that way. This was not, so this was a spam update. It matches what I'm seeing, which is more content related than link spam related. So you never know for sure, but usually Google would roll this out as a link spam update if it was specifically targeting unnatural or spammy links. So let's get moving. Before I hop into the cases, just also want to touch on recovery from spam updates. So you can recover from a spam update usually, not link spam, it's different. From a spam update standpoint, Google's explained that if you stop spamming, improve the site, and Google's systems see that over an extended period of time, it says months, I've seen even longer than months, but that you could see recovery. Now, it's important to note that you wouldn't see recovery based upon the spam that was ranking, but other content on the site that was dragged down when you were impacted by a spam update could actually see recovery. So recovery is possible. Different than a link spam update where SpamBrain is basically neutralizing those unnatural links. You can't get them back, they're gone. I know a lot of site owners that were very confused after previous link spam updates on how do they recover, and it's like, well, you really can't. You just have to earn new links, strong links from now on, replace those old links, and it's just a lot of confusion about that. So, but this was a spam update, a little different. So let's hop into the cases. The first one was pretty easy to see. There were a ton of doorway pages. So doorway pages are where it's basically the same content optimized for different keywords. There were many of them across the site. As you can see here, the site saw a really big drop when the spam update rolled out. Here's Systrix visibility, as well as Ahrefs, and you can see right when the spam update rolls out, they basically plummet in search visibility. Just here's a quick example. There was one directory with a whole slew of doorways in them. That directory had 509 pages that were basically doorway pages. That's just that directory. So, I've always said it works until it doesn't work. This is why you don't want to go down that path. So the spam update rolled out and they got hit pretty heavily. So for that site, it was pretty much doorway pages with thin content. There wasn't much content on those pages and they were doorways. So not a great combination. The second example was scale content abuse. This was an interesting one. It seemed, I called it PAA mining, like people also ask mining. Saw this a lot with the helpful content update as well, where basically it seems like the site owner, knew the topic, checked out people also asked for the topic, drilled into all the PAAs there, created headings on the page for every single PAA and explained that it was like such an overload of content. Like in my post, I explained it was like 25 posts in one. Not good to do that, especially if you scale that. And as you can see, this site dropped pretty heavily also during the spam update. Also, beyond that, there was content that seemed out of their lane. So I've covered staying in your lane and veering out of your lane previously in different posts about broad core updates and different types of updates. But basically, you want to be careful of that, because as you start to veer out of your lane, you don't have expertise there usually. Content quality could drop. User happiness could drop. Google has a system, which I've written about, called NavBoost, which tracks 13 months of user interaction signals. You don't want to start sending really bad signals to Google from that standpoint. Here's just a mobile page that was just massive, very hard to traverse. This is one of the pages with, like, every people also ask as a heading. Here's what the headings look like, as you can see, and that's just a snapshot. That's not even the entire page. There were even more than that. So there was just a ton of different headings, H2s, H3s, covering every possible piece of information regarding that topic. So you definitely want to be careful there. The third case, which I called scaling to Oblivion. There was a section of the site which had scaled to 5 million pages. Like I said in my post, yes, 5 million. What was really interesting, though, two things, a few things, maybe even more than two. So first, it actually surged during the November core update and then dropped during the spam update. And I covered more about this earlier in the post, which I didn't cover here on the podcast yet, but I'm touching on it here, which is when Google's systems can counterbalance each other. I've covered this in previous blog posts before. You can surge during one update, maybe drop during another, or if it's a core update with an extended rollout where different systems are updating, you might surge with, as they update one system, drop when they update another system, or vice versa. That definitely happened here. I have a number of examples of sites that surged during either the November core or December core and then dropped during the December spam update. Really interesting to see. And this is very clear in Systrix visibility trending for this site. And again, this is a site with 5 million pages in a directory and then had more of a traditional content in another directory. So the other interesting part was that directory with 5 million pages actually was increasing during the spam update. And it was increasing during the core updates as well. Not a lot of visibility there, but definitely increasing, as you can see. And then the directory with traditional content actually dropped during the spam update. So really interesting. And, when I started testing the content in the traditional directory, or the directory of traditional content, you could see it's coming back with a very high probability that it was AI generated. Doesn't mean it was, but it's coming back via originality.ai, which is one of my favorite tools for detecting the probability of AI. Not that it's AI 100%, but if it comes back 100% AI, across a lot of different pieces of content, it could be AI generated. So anyway, you had this going on. So in my post, I said, is it the 5 million pages in a directory that are indexable, or was it the traditional content that's AI generated? If it was AI generated, I'd really have to dig in to further to see really what was going on there, but just interesting to see that. The fourth case, more scaled content abuse. So this one was interesting because first, look, it also surged during the November core update, dropped during the spam update. Again, I saw this several times. But the pages, a number of the pages that dropped looked like they were kind of stitched together, like programmatically. So, John Mueller from Google has always said, programmatic can borderline spammy if it goes out of control. And for this, I kept saying to myself when I was reading these pages, like, there's no way a human actually created some of this stuff. So, and I'm neck deep in this, reading a lot of different types of content across sites impacted by major updates. So that kind of stood out. And as you can see, just a lot of lost queries for this site. So a lot of content that didn't just drop a few rankings, but it is gone from like the top 100 listings in Google. So again, more stitching programmatically that was going on with this site, at least in my opinion. And then the final case I was going to cover, which are more doorway pages and AI content. And there were about 140 to 160,000 pages that could be categorized as doorways. It's a lot. And it was basically pages trying to rank for every possible thing that this site could rank for. So it definitely scaled to the point of kind of getting out of control. And also what was interesting is that even prior to the spam update, there were only about 12% of the pages in that directory that were actually ranking in Google. So there was, I think it was like 18, almost, it was like 17,800 pages or something like that out of the 150,000 approximately pages in that directory. It's kind of a red flag, right? Like more ranking. And as you can see here, the visibility dropped pretty heavily when the spam update rolled out. So again, yeah, so there were 17,714 pages you can see here that were ranking in Google in the top 100 listings. And, that's out of 150,000. So not a great ratio. Also in those pages at the very bottom was like cram text, right? Which you would see, it reminds me of like what you see sometimes on like old school e-commerce sites where they're cramming all this text at the bottom thinking that's really helping them rank when it probably isn't. I wrote a case study about that, by the way. You might want to look it up. So anyway, when I was testing all of that content on all these different pages, every single time was coming back 100% probability of AI. So it wasn't great content. It was stuffed at the bottom of those pages. They were doorway pages anyway. So this is a really good example of all of that coming together and a site getting impacted pretty heavily by the December 2024 spam update. So in summary, it works until it doesn't. So unfortunately, Google can roll out these spam updates outside of core updates, and they could have a big impact, and they could reverse the gains that some sites have seen during core updates. So it's something you definitely want to keep in mind. So I hope that this was helpful. Again, subscribe to my channel. I usually post videos about major updates, and I think 2025 is going to be a crazy one. That's where we're catching hints from Google about how volatile and how many things are going to roll out in 2025. So I think there'll be quite a few. So definitely subscribe. And until the next time, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next time. Thank you.